1946, Neville Heath murdered 2 women within the course of a fortnight. On the 20th of June, he took Mrs. Margery Gardner to room number 4 at the Pembridge Court Hotel, Notting Hill, stripped her, bound her hand and foot, whipped her many times with a riding crop, inflicted brutal injuries on her, and then smothered her to death. On the 3rd of July, on a piece of waste ground in Bournemouth, he savagely beat up Miss Doreen Marshall, stripped her, cut her throat, then mutilated her body after she was dead. There is no doubt about these facts. The circumstantial evidence was in itself almost overwhelming. Heath was the last man seen with either of the 2 women. He had taken the room at the Pembridge Court Hotel under his own name. The riding crop used on Mrs. Gardner was found among his effects. He had fled from the scene of that crime. He was shown to have pawned a ring and a watch belonging to Miss Marshall. The list of telling points went on, and at Heath's trial no attempt was made by the defense to deny the basic truth of the allegations against him. In fact, although in accordance with the legal practice of the time, Heath was charged only with the first murder, the defense made a point of introducing details of the second. They were basing his defense on a plea of insanity. The interest in this case then, and there was massive public interest at the time, lay not in whether Heath had committed these crimes, but why? What sort of man or monster was he? This was the mystery which drew huge crowds of the curious to the Old Bailey on the opening day of the trial, the 24th of September, 1946. In our version of the events which followed, little space has been given to the massive accumulation of prosecution evidence proving beyond any doubt that Heath had indeed committed these murders. We shall follow instead the line of his defense, the questions of motive and personality, the crucial argument as to whether or not he could be considered responsible for his actions. So, the beginning of the trial. The judge, Mr. Justice Morris, counsel for the Crown, Mr. Anthony Hawke, counsel for the defense, Mr. J.D. Caswell, K.C., and in the dock, Neville George Cleveley Heath, charged with the murder of Margery Gardner.
Neville George Cleveley Heath, you are charged with the murder of Margery Amy Brownell Gardner on the 21st of June last. Are you guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty, sir. But I'm guilty. Why shouldn't I plead guilty?
Naturally, that's up to you. In my opinion, however, such a course of action would be most ill-advised.
Oh, jolly strong case and all that. Not a lot of chance of a chap getting off, wouldn't you say?
Well, it's very difficult to judge.
Well, I thought it might be the best thing, you know? Cut down on the whole business, save wasting everybody's time.
Look, I've already explained to you, Heath. If you plead guilty, there can be no possibility of a reduction of the charge or of the sentence. You appreciate that?
Oh, yes, thought of that.
On the other hand, were you to plead not guilty, even with the facts as they are, I can assure you that a defense of insanity would have at least some chance of success. Now, I'm impelled to advise you on the basis of your own best interests. Besides, you have your mother and father still living. You have your friends. Think of them. And you want it said that a man in his right mind could commit 2 such brutal crimes? Is that what you want everyone to think?
All right, you better put me down as not guilty then, old boy.
You're certain of that?
Well, it's not for me to tell you chaps how to do your job.
It is no part of my duty to attempt to forecast what answer may or may not be put forward to the charge upon which this man stands indicted today. It may be, and it is only right perhaps that I should indicate it in case it is the fact, that you at some stage are going to be asked to say, and if I am wrong about this in due course and at the proper time I shall be corrected, that at the time he did, if he is proved to have done, these acts in that room at the Pembridge Court Hotel, this man's reason was so unseated by disease of the mind that he's not to be held responsible for his deeds and actions. Now, it is presumed in our law that a person is sane and responsible for his actions unless and until the contrary be proved within reasonable probability. And in order to prove that, either one of 2 things must be proved. Namely, either that he did not know at the time the act was done what it was he was doing, or else, if he did understand what he was doing, he did not understand or appreciate that what he was doing was wrong and something punishable by the laws of this country. Now, there is a very common phrase in ordinary human affairs when somebody does something which is out of the ordinary ambit of ordinary social responsibility. They say, no one in his senses would have done a thing like that, or else words to the effect, well, he must have been mad. But members of the jury, the mere fact that a man acts abnormally is not to excuse him from his responsibility for what he does. Now, nobody would think, and indeed the prosecution do not invite you to think, that the person, whoever it may be, who inflicted these terrible injuries, who mutilated this poor girl before she died, was a person in his normal frame of mind. Indeed, you may well think that there is evidence that the person, whoever it may be, was sexually perverted to such an extent as to be almost a sexual monstrosity. But a sexually perverted impulse, which results in grievous bodily harm to a victim or in that victim's death, is not to be excused on the grounds of insanity.
He can't have done those things. He can't.
Well, honestly, I don't know what you could have been thinking of getting me to bring you along here. I mean, we all know these things go on, but there's no need to have our faces rubbed in it, is there? Oh. And for a girl of your age, I don't think it's decent. Really, I don't. Some of the expressions being used, parts of the anatomy, things even the papers don't print. Whatever would your mother say if she knew? Really, I just don't understand the sort of people who'd want to sit and listen to it. You'd think they'd have better things to do with their time, a man like that. Nothing but an animal. I am surprised at you, Rose, I really am. It's bad enough having to read about these things in papers.
I'm going back in.
Rose.
I'm sorry, Aunt Jessie, I've got to go back. You can go away if you want to, I'm sorry.
Rose. Rose.
Mr. Caswell and I have given the matter some thought and decided it's probably best for you not to give evidence on your own behalf.
Fair enough.
Frankly, I don't think the jury would believe a word you said. And the prosecution would be bound to press you over the details of the actual crimes. It would be very difficult to counteract a bad impression.
Fine. Whatever you say.
All right, then. Now, I don't know if there's anything further that you might like to tell me that might help me at all. The facts against you are, I must say, very black.
Well, what would you like to know?
This woman, Margery Gardner...
She's a bit of a tart, I'm afraid, old boy. Not proud of myself there. Good fun and all that, you know, but hardly the top drawer, if you know what I mean. No, hardly.
So, when you went to the hotel...
It's damn odd. The whole thing. I just went up, you know, for a bit of the old slap and tickle. Lady wasn't averse. Everything right as rain. And then there I was, in the room there, and there's poor old Marge, stretched out, dead as a dodo. Damn funny. I mean, I remember going there and all that. I thought, well, this is a bit of a mess, old boy. Better make yourself scarce with all speed. Didn't seem a lot else a man could do. Bad show, though. Lack of spine, can't deny it. Should have hung around, taken the old medicine. Yeah, let myself down there. Bad show altogether.
So you're still saying you remember nothing of the actual events in the hotel room at all?
Not a sausage. Wish I could help you, old bean.
All right, well, let's leave that for the moment. Now, when you first registered at the hotel the week before, you were with another lady, a Miss Simmons.
I say, I'm not going to drag her into all this, am I?
I'm afraid the prosecution is bound to call her.
God. It's a bit of a facer. No, really, I don't think that's quite the thing at all.
Yes, no doubt.
I mean, Yvonne and Margery, now, they were like chalk and cheese. She's a lovely little thing. No, really, I call that pretty low.
So, nothing out of the ordinary occurred with her, then? You're quite certain of that?
Good God, no. With Yvonne, she was, you know, she'd never been with a man in her life. What kind of a brute do you think I am?
Miss Simmons, you live down at Worthing with your father and mother.
Yes.
Yes, and you've met this man here, Heath?
Yes.
When did you first meet him?
June.
Yes. It might have been Saturday the 15th of June, perhaps.
Yes, it was.
Yes, was that in a dance at Chelsea?
Yes.
Yes.
You may lead, Mr. Hawke.
I'm obliged for that. And did he telephone you on the following day, Sunday?
Yes.
And you spent the day with him?
Yes.
Yes, and eventually I think you spent the night with him.
Yes.
Was that in room number 4 at the Pembridge Court Hotel?
Yes.
And he made a promise to you, actually, did he not? Or at any rate, he made a proposal to you.
Yes.
Did he propose marriage to you?
Yes.
And it was after that that you stayed the night with him?
Yes.
Yes. And you went back to Worthing the following day, did you not?
Yes.
Now, had he treated you quite decently yourself, personally?
Yes.
And on Friday, the 21st of June, did he telephone you again?
Yes.
My lord, I have been told I may lead this witness.
Very well, Mr. Hawke.
Which perhaps makes it easier. And it turned out that he was in Worthing.
Yes.
Yes, and I think you had lunch together and he booked a room at an hotel down there.
Yes.
Yes. And on the following day, which was Saturday, the 22nd of June, did you meet him again?
Yes. In the morning.
And did he mention something to you that morning, that Saturday morning?
Yes.
So I do not want to put the question to her unless my learned friend approves of it.
Yes, do put it to her.
Did he mention a murder to him?
Yes, I think he did.
What did he say?
Had I seen an account of it in the papers?
Had you?
No.
And did he say anything about himself in connection with it at all?
Yes.
And what did he say?
He told me that he was closely connected with the murder.
Did he tell you what he knew about it?
He told me that it happened in the room he booked at the Pembridge Court Hotel.
And did he mention any detail in connection with it? Anything that had been done to her, to this woman?
He told me it was a very gruesome sight.
Or did he say he'd been in the room then?
Yes, I think he said he had seen the body.
After it was dead?
Yes.
And did he mention any detail to you in connection with the body, something that had been done to it?
That a poker had been used on her.
And did he say in what way the poker had been used? Miss Simmons?
He told me that the poker had been stuck up her.
And did he say anything about what had caused her death? Did he mention that at all?
He said he thought the poker had probably killed her.
And did he express any idea about the sort of person who might have done a thing like that?
Yes. A sexual maniac.
And of course, as you have told us, he treated you perfectly courteously and decently.
Yes.
Oh, good morning, Heath. How are you today?
Fine. Stand up when Dr. Grayson speaks to you.
No problems?
Not to speak of.
You sleeping all right?
Like the dead, old boy.
Fine, fine. I thought we might have another little chat. Monday morning, all right?
I'll have to consult my diary.
Fine, fine. Yes, yes. Well, I'll see you then.
Toodaloo.
Never known a bloke see so many head doctors. Still, I suppose they know what they're doing.
What's your name, old boy?
Watson.
No need to be formal.
Best to keep it formal.
This is a rotten business. I'm terribly sorry. I simply wanted to say that if there was any way I could help to make it easier for you at all, I'd only be too glad.
Detective Inspector Spooner was called to give factual evidence about the murder investigation. Caswell took the opportunity to put Heath's past history on record.
In 1935, at the age of 18, did Heath join the Royal Air Force with a short service commission?
February 1936. I think it was made retrospective to the end of 1935.
And then about a year and a half later, on the 20th of August 1937, we find him court-martialed for being absent without leave from the 22nd of March to the 22nd of July of that year.
Yes.
As a result of that, was he dismissed from the Royal Air Force?
Yes, sir, he was.
In July 1938, we find him in trouble again. Was he sentenced at this court to 3 years Borstal treatment for robbing the house of a friend at Edgware of articles valued at about £51?
That and other offences, yes.
How many other offences?
There were 2 indictments. First, housebreaking and stealing jewellery, etc., to the value of £51. Secondly, obtaining clothing valued £27 by a forged banker's order. 10 other offences were taken into consideration.
10? Were these crimes of fraud or theft, Detective Inspector?
Fraud, my lord.
I see. Very good, Mr. Caswell.
He was sentenced to 3 years Borstal, but was released in September 1939.
That was a special release owing to the national emergency.
Yes. He then enlisted as a driver in the Royal Army Service Corps, did he not?
On the 24th of October 1939.
In January and February, he was commissioned as second lieutenant and posted to the Middle East.
On the 23rd of March 1940.
After some time, did he get into trouble with the brigadier, and was he placed under arrest?
He was placed under arrest, yes.
Yeah, but no sort of suggestion of any sexual offence or anything like that?
No, sir.
Now, in August 1941, having been cashiered, did he come back on the troop ship Multan?
Yes, sir.
And left that improperly at Durban?
That was in November 1941. He went to Johannesburg, where he passed himself off as a Captain Selway MC of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders.
He then changed his name to Armstrong and joined the South African Air Force, didn't he?
That was in December 1941.
Yes, now, late in 1943, he was posted to Egypt, Tripolitania and Algeria.
No, I don't think so, sir.
Well, what have you got of his movements in 1943, then? He was in the Middle East, was he not?
He was in South Africa the whole time.
Well, are you sure of this?
Yes, sir.
Because my instructions are that he was at Alamein.
No, sir.
In 1942?
No, sir.
He was in South Africa the whole time, you say?
Yes, sir. Engaged on transport and instructional duties.
Well, I hope you have a record of this. Now, in 1945, was he again court-martialed in South Africa?
Yes. On the 4th of December 1945, he appeared before a general court-martial in South Africa and was convicted on 6 charges. 3 of conduct prejudicial to good order and military discipline, and 3 of wearing military decorations without authority.
As a result of that, was he dismissed from the service again, a 3rd time?
Yes, he was, sir.
Did he then come back to London?
He returned to this country on the 5th of February this year and returned to London in the same month.
Now, his next trouble was wearing the uniform of a lieutenant colonel, sometimes of a major, and a string of decorations.
Yes, that was on the 5th of April this year at Wimbledon Magistrates Court, when he was fined £5 for unlawfully wearing military decorations and uniforms, all of which he was not entitled to.
Now, that brings us down to May and June 1946. The death of Margery Gardner was on the 20th of June 1946.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Mummy. Dad.
Hello, Nan. Everything all right? They're treating you all right?
Oh, can't complain. You mustn't worry.
No. That's good. I saved up my coupons and bought you some chocolates. But the man at the gate said that I had to hand them over to him. Told him to be sure you got them. Well, I hope that was all right.
Oh, yes, fine, fine. That was jolly nice, Mummy. You shouldn't have, really.
Oh, don't be silly. There's nothing at all. Only I did want to give them to you myself. It seems awful.
How are things at home? Everything all right?
Oh, fine. You know. Missing you, of course. Daddy and me. Looking forward to getting you home again as soon as all this is... Of course, everyone's been very kind. All the neighbours. There's hardly been any... ever so considerate. Really. I think it's wonderful how good people can be, all things considered. I'm sorry, Neville. I didn't mean that. Oh, I am sorry.
What about this lawyer chap, Caswell? Knows his stuff, does he?
Seems like a good man.
He was recommended to me as one of the best.
I'm sure he is.
Certainly costing me enough.
Oh, Daddy!
I'm sorry. Of course, the money doesn't come into it, just as long as he gets you off.
He will, Dad. Don't you worry. I'll soon be back within the old homestead.
Are you really sure, Neville? I'm so frightened.
I'm sure of it, Mummy. Now, I wouldn't lie to you. You know that. Not to my own parents.
Time for you to go and see Dr. Young. Heath?
Tell Dr. Young he knows what he can do.
Well, I can't tell him that, can I?
I'm damn well fed up with it. Doctors. It's not Dr. Hubert, it's Dr. Grierson. It's not Dr. Grierson, it's Dr. Young. All the fellows do is talk about my bloody love life all the time. Well, it's not on. Tell him I'm not coming.
Well, he won't like that, will he? He's a busy man.
I think it's damned unfair.
Well, are you coming or not?
What's no, man? I'm not coming. Please apologize to the gentleman for me.
Run and tell the doctor with a bit of trouble, all right?
Right. Chap has his pride. Make me feel like a bloody specimen.
You shouldn't have done what you did then, should you?
Well, they caught me, didn't they? What more do they want? Didn't ask for all this palaver.
Well, that's a funny sort of attitude.
Now, look, don't you start, old boy.
I thought you'd be feeling more cheerful seeing your parents this morning.
Yeah, it should be, of course. No reason to feel low. Best folks a fella got to have. Salt of the earth. Still, can't help feeling I've let them down a bit landing myself in here. Not that they'd ever say it. Still, bit of a bad show all in all. It's bound to cross their minds. Can get a chap down a bit.
You're all right now?
You don't think I'm such a bad chap, do you, old boy?
Not for me to say, I'm sure.
Damn funny, don't you think? Two chaps like us, out there, easiest thing in the world. Pop into the old Fitzroy for a few snifters, never bat an eye, eh? Chatter away like long-lost brothers. Damn odd the way things turn out altogether. Still, always merry and bright, eh?
You've been no trouble to me.
This is an astonishing case, is it not? The probability is, of course, that Heath knows no more about the state of his mind than any of us do about the state of our own. It is something which is a part of his nature. It is natural. To him, it would not appear extraordinary. But you, no doubt, may have noticed some astonishing features in this case. Well, why have the public taken such an interest in it? Why? Is it not because two terrible and apparently motiveless crimes have been committed by the same man within the short space of a fortnight? Not a man you know to be unintelligent, but a man who's seen a great deal of the world, a man who's been commissioned 3 times. Now, in that second case, as you will hear, the injuries were far more terrible than in the first. That second crime was committed when that man must have known that the police were hunting for him throughout Britain, when he himself, a noticeable figure, you will admit, without any disguise except the change of a name, had been staying in a hotel in that place, when he himself had taken the girl out from the hotel, had spoken to the hall porter as he left, and had done everything to show that he was the man who was associated with that girl. Well, is it not almost unimaginable If you were to read such things in fiction, you would have thrown the book aside, would you not, and said, "This is impossible. It does not happen." If a man has committed a crime like this, he does not go straight off and commit another crime of a similar and even more awful nature at a time when he knows that the police are hunting for him, when he has seen his name in the paper day after day. No, this is not the sort of thing a sane and reasonable man does. Now, I invite you to say that that is the first fact calling for careful consideration. Oh, there are many other curious acts, the sort of acts that one would not expect a man to do if he were an intelligent man. Things which may lead you to believe that this man either cannot remember the details of these crimes, or else is able to put them entirely out of his mind, so that he has shown neither remorse for the deaths of these two young girls, nor apparently appreciated that you and I and the rest of the world consider them most awful crimes. You will consider that.
Rose, a composite character who must stand for the very many young women who had succumbed to Heath's undeniable charm.
Hello, Rose. This is a nice surprise.
I didn't know if you'd want to see me.
Always glad to see you, old girl, you know that. How's Trix?
Oh, Neville, it's horrible, all this. I don't understand it at all. These things they're saying you did, these women.
Well, you should believe all you hear, old girl.
I don't know what to believe. Everyone seems so sure. I can't...
Oh, I see. It's a bit low, don't you think, coming here to kick a chap when he's down?
Oh, no. That's not what I meant at all. Honestly, I just wanted to see you.
A fella can get pretty unhappy in here, you know, with all this. Not knowing what's going to happen. Be nice to think there was someone out there, you know, who cared just a little bit.
Oh, it must be awful. I'm sorry.
I've heard that girl, that Miss Simmons, said you'd promised to marry her.
I thought, after everything you'd said... that...
Well, Rose. Rose, look at me. I'm no saint. I've done some pretty rotten things in my life, and I won't deny it. But do you think I could ever prefer a girl like that to you? Do you? I've been thinking about you, you know.
Have you? You haven't been in touch for ever so long.
That day we went down to Brighton, do you remember? We walked along by the sand there. And I thought, what a lovely girl. What an absolutely perfect stunner of a girl. God, I'm a lucky old chap. God, aren't I just.
Really?
You know I did.
You got down on your knees.
Right there in the sand. Hang the trousers, I thought. I'm going to do this properly. And I meant it, Rose, about wanting to share my life with you, and... well, I thought you meant it too, my love. Then you come along like this, when a chap's at a pretty low ebb, saying these things. Well, it's a bit below the belt. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel.
Oh, Neville, did you really mean it? Really?
I'm only holding on through this in the hope that someday we can be together again. You know that.
And they're not true. All these things they're saying about you.
Do you even have to ask?
I do love you, Neville. I do so much.
Trust me, that's all I ask. You do trust me?
Yes. Oh, yes.
That's my girl. You better go now, all right?
All right. I can come again.
If you could bear not to, I'm sorry. Try to understand. It only makes it harder for me seeing you in a place like this. When I get out, all right?
Oh, Neville.
Please, please. It's better this way. We mustn't spoil it, eh?
All right?
Come on, no tears. That's my brave girl.
But I might never see you again.
1,000 to 1, old girl. Not even worth thinking about. Trust me.
Trust you.
That's it. Come on, chin up. I'll see you very, very soon.
Bye-bye, Neville.
Recreation period. Time to stretch your legs.
Check. 8 and 2, I think.
Got you again, is he, Mr. Watson?
Too good for me.
What's it like out in the yard?
Pissing down, I'm afraid.
You want to just stick in and give me my revenge?
Okey doke. Now, hold on. I've an idea. You're a big, strong chap. Exercise and all that. You ever done any arm wrestling? You know, you try and push the other Johnny's arm down from the elbow. Fancy I bash it down?
No, I don't think so, Heath. Better just stick to chess. Eh?
Oh, damn the chess. Well, be a sportsman. Just for a lark.
Go on, Mr. Watson, have a go. You could beat him.
I'm all flabbed from being in this place. Weak as a kitten. Come on, old boy. I'll yell if you're hurting me.
No, I don't think the governor...
Well, he's not here, is he? Just one bout. That's all.
I won't tell.
You'd better not.
Oh, good man. Right, come on. Jack it off. The sleeves rolled up. Come on, let's do this properly. You know how it goes?
I've done it once or twice. Only when I was drunk, Ryan.
Right. You say go.
Ready? Go. Come on, Mr. Watson.
You're playing with me.
Not at all, old boy. I'm trying as hard as I can.
Stop it. I've had enough.
Oh, come on, old boy. Play the game. You nearly had me there.
Collins, help me.
I do. There. Jolly good. That was a bit of fun, wasn't it?
You bastard.
Lord, I didn't hurt you, did I?
You bloody near broke my arm.
Oh, goodness, I'm terribly sorry, old chap. Just a bit of fun.
It didn't feel like that to me.
You all right, Mr. Watson?
Yeah, I'm all right. No thanks to you. No more of that, though, all right? I've tried to deal with you decent. Not leave you on your own all the time. Look what you're going to do.
Well, shake hands with me, though, huh? No hard feelings.
That's easy enough to say.
Oh, golly, I don't even know what I'm supposed to have done. Come on, old boy. Please. Shake hands with me and no harm done, eh?
All right. No harm done, I suppose.
Fine.
You are William Henry de Barg Hubert.
I am.
Would you state your medical qualifications, please?
I'm a Bachelor of Arts of Cambridge, a member of the Royal College of Surgeons, licentiate of the Royal College of Physicians, and also a member of the Royal College of Physicians.
You were psychotherapist at Wormwood Scrubs Prison from 1934 to 1939.
Until the outbreak of war.
Yes, you were psychotherapist at Feltham Prison and the Broadmoor Criminal Lunatic Asylum from 1945 to 1946.
Yes.
On instructions received from the defendant's solicitor, have you visited the defendant Heath on several occasions at Brixton Prison?
Yes.
Now, you had an opportunity quite early, I think, of reading an account of the injuries which were inflicted on each of these two women.
Yes, I had.
In your opinion, what was the nature of these acts of violence?
Extremely savage, and of a nature which could almost certainly only be done by a sadist. They were not ordinary violence.
You have also inquired into and heard this morning about the general delinquency that this man's history shows, as far as we can trace it at any rate, back to the age of about 18.
Yes.
When one finds this general history of delinquency, combined with this sexual or sadistic activity, what presumption does it raise in your mind?
That the man is born with a deficient moral sense and will commit any type of crime, or quite a wide range of crime. It is not confined to any one particular field.
Now, in the course of your discussions with him, have you endeavored to find out some reason for these crimes? Have you discussed them with him?
Merely that they produce in him the the ordinary satisfaction that normal sexual intercourse would produce.
Did he, at any time during your examination of him, show any remorse for these crimes?
He appeared to show no remorse, nor appreciation of what other people would think of his behavior.
I don't quite see where you're driving at, old boy.
Well, take this second girl, for instance, Doreen Marshall. What was your attitude towards her?
Well, I liked her. She was a pretty little thing. Barely knew the girl, of course.
You were attracted to her?
Well, wouldn't have shoved her out of my bed, old man, if that's what you mean.
And yet you killed her?
Well, that's putting it a bit strong.
How would you put it?
Well, just doesn't seem the sort of thing a chap would do. It is damned odd, though, you know? The whole love business, don't you?
In what way?
Come on, you're a man of the world, old boy. You know what I mean. The whole business. A couple of decent, ordinary human beings lying about, starkers, slobbering over each other. Chap isn't himself. He's bound to get thoughts in his head.
What kind of thoughts?
Well, what do you do to someone?
Hurt them, you mean?
Anything. There's no reason not to do anything. There's no one else there. No one to see.
And you like to do that? You get pleasure from that?
Oh, look, it's not me, old boy. That's what I'm saying. It's just something that happens.
As a result of your investigations, consideration, and experience, to what conclusion have you come?
That it is not an ordinary case of sexual perversion, but that he suffers from moral insanity, and that at times he is quite unaware that what he is doing is wrong.
In your view, is he certifiable as morally insane?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Hubert. I have no more questions.
When he lashed her, having tied her up and made her helpless first, and eventually suffocated her, he knew it was wrong?
No.
Well, would you tell us why?
Because people during sexual behavior generally consider what they are doing is right and their own business.
Oh, then may I take it that this is your evidence? At the time he was inflicting these terrible injuries, he thought it was right.
He thought it was... Yes, he thought it was right.
He thought it was right?
Yes.
Because he could only obtain his sexual satisfaction by inflicting cruelty, you say he thought it was right to inflict it, do you?
Yes, I do.
Is that your answer, Dr. Hubert?
Well, he was doing what he wished to do.
I asked if that was your answer.
If you like, yes.
Are you saying, with your responsibility standing there, that a person in that frame of mind is free from criminal responsibility, even if what he does causes grievous bodily harm or death?
At the time, yes.
His criminal responsibility does not occur at a particular time, Doctor. I ask whether, with your responsibility, you are saying that a perverted sadist who knows perfectly well what he is doing, after he has satisfied his perverted instinct, is free from criminal responsibility because he finds the necessity to satisfy it.
Say no, for heaven's sake.
My answer is yes. Because on questioning sexual perverts, they appear to show no remorse or regret quite frequently.
Dr. Hubert, does it mean this, then, that every sexual pervert who, in order to obtain his satisfaction, has to indulge his perversion, is free to say that he is free from any responsibility for the consequences?
No.
Well, what does it mean, then, with great respect? I thought that was exactly what you've been saying.
No, that coupled with the same view in other branches in life. He had committed all kinds of offences and has shown the same tendency. A mere sexual perversion is a different matter. His is a perversion coupled with crime
in other fields showing the same irresponsibility and apparent lack of knowledge of the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah. Would you say that this was a fair description of this man's history as displayed by his record? Correct me in anything that is wrong. That it is the history of a man who, whenever he found himself hard up, did not scruple to pass checks which he knew would be dishonoured. Is that right so far?
So far, yes.
A man who, when it suited him to wear medals to which he was not entitled and to claim a rank which did not belong to him, would do so?
Yes.
Yes, and who, in fact, has led an ordinary, rather dishonest and distinctly bogus existence for a fairly considerable number of years. Now, is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Hubert, just for the sake of argument, and I'm sorry to pass into these fields, but I'm afraid it is necessary, suppose that at the same time that he was convicted of these offences of which we have heard, there was another indictment to which he pleaded guilty, that of having indecently assaulted a woman. Now, would you then go into the witness box on his behalf and say that because he felt like assaulting her at the time, and because he happened to feel like forging checks at the time, and because he felt like burgling other people's houses at the time, therefore he thought it was right and was entitled to be found insane?
It depends upon the degree of the offences, does it not?
Well, does it?
I think so, yes.
Well, that seems to be the reverse of what you've been saying. I'm sorry if I misinterpreted, but I understand your proposition to be this. If a man has an instinct which he finds it convenient to gratify, and the gratification of that instinct leads him to crime, he is entitled to say, well, I'm not responsible because I was insane at the time.
I think if it includes sexual offences of the sexual pervert type, plus ordinary delinquency, one is entitled to consider the moral degeneracy.
Well, you would appreciate, of course, that I, if I may say so, would be the first to concede that Heath is certainly not a normal person.
Of course.
But you would agree that there was no answer in law for an abnormal person who gratifies his abnormality to seek to be excused from it.
It depends on its degree, its type, and how large the field covers.
But, Dr. Hubert, with great respect, does it? What we have to consider is whether that person either does not know what he is doing, which you say is not the state that exists here,
quite,
or else, knowing what he is doing, does not know or appreciate that what he is doing is wrong and punishable by law.
Yes, he may know it is punishable by law, but he does not think it is wrong.
Oh, well, does that mean morally wrong?
Morally wrong, yes, as far as he is concerned.
Are you saying he is entitled to be excused because he does not consider it is morally wrong?
No, I do not.
I must confess I was surprised.
Homosexuals do not consider themselves morally wrong, but they are punishable by law.
Oh, no.
Dr. Hubert, you have introduced that. I had rather carefully avoided it. The homosexual finds his satisfaction also in a perverted way. And very often when he satisfies it in that perverted way, he offends against the law, does he not?
Yes.
Well, is it your view, then, that every homosexual who offends against the law is entitled to say, oh, well, I am not responsible because I felt at the time I wanted to do it, and therefore it was right, and therefore I am insane?
No, certainly not.
Well, what is the difference, with great respect?
Well, there is such a condition as moral insanity. Moral insanity covers the case of a man who will commit any offence which he feels at the time he wants to.
If any perverted person feels at the time he wants to satisfy his perversion, you say he is entitled to say he is insane.
With other offences, not the one.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Hubert.
Lost it.
And that, more or less, was that. The prosecution called Doctors Grierson and Young, who testified that both had found Heath legally sane. But nothing could efface from anyone's mind the memory of Dr. Hubert, the defence's key witness, who was ill and faltering under the stress of cross-examination.
Gardner.
Guilty.
The jury's verdict, when it came, was no surprise.
You stand convicted of
They had
murder.
been out for less than an hour.
Have you anything to say why the court should not give you judgment of death according to the law?
Nothing.
Neville, George, Cleveley, Heath, you have been found guilty of a terrible crime.
The sentence of the court upon you is that you be taken from this place to a lawful prison and thence to a place of execution, and that you be there hanged by the neck until you are dead, and that your body shall be afterwards buried within the precincts of the prison in which you shall have been confined before your execution. And may the Lord have mercy on your soul.
Amen. You a family man, Mr. Watson?
Got a wife, 2 boys, suppose I am.
Got married myself once. In South Africa. Got a kid of my own. Must be 3 now. Didn't work out there. I've often thought, you know, if I could have made a go of that. Well,
I'm sure it couldn't be helped.
Oh, my feelings exactly. Oh, absolutely, old boy. I don't mind it, you know. I mean, no one wants to sign off before his time and all that, but, well, it seems to me if I was some ordinary Johnny in the street reading his daily rag, I'd have to go along with the rest of them. Good riddance, I'd say. That fellow Heath's a rotten cur, deserves all he gets. Now, people who know me, well, that's different. They know I'm a decent enough cove, pay my round, that kind of thing. It's not the law, is it? You've got to have rules. Break the rules and get caught, they punish you. You've got to have it. It's the backbone of the country. No use crying because it happens to be you.
You could have appealed.
No. Bad form. Best to take it on the chin. No squealing. Never even wanted all these damn trick cyclist chaps. Wasted time. Mumbo jumbo. I mean, how can they know what's going on a chap's head? Chap doesn't know himself half the time. Damned insulting, the whole thing. Silly. I mean, I'm not mad, old boy, am I? Anyone can see that. Never was much of a one for the old literary stuff. So I've got to be done, I suppose. Here, give a listen to this. It's a letter to my brother. Tell me how it sounds to you, huh?
You don't want me to hear your private letters. I'd feel as if I was eavesdropping.
How rubbish. I do want you to hear it. So difficult to know if you're striking the right note.
It still doesn't seem right.
Oh, don't be such an old woman. You ready? Right. My dear Mike, just a short note to let you know for the last time that your writing is abominable and your spelling even worse. Thought I'd keep it light, you know. Those beating the breast and all. I won't be seeing you again, but perhaps in the days to come you'll feel a friendly gremlin ease your aircraft out of a sticky position. You may recognize the touch. Quite good, I thought.
Yeah, fine.
Gets a bit more serious now, you know. Bit of fraternal advice. Suppose expected. You'll shortly be going into a damn good service. Your future is up to you. Don't make the mistakes that I've made. If you get in any urges in the wrong direction, just say to yourself, Christ, I've seen the result of these, and open your throttle and go round again. You know what I mean. All right?
What was that last bit about the throttle?
Well, it's just a way of talking, old boy. Yeah, difficult to say things straight out, you know. Ah, you'll get the drift, all right? Use King's Regulations and Air Council instructions as your Bible and stick to it. If you do that, you won't come unstuck. I'm more qualified to give advice than anyone else I know because I've learned the lessons and how. Now you take advantage of them. God, it's awful, this.
Sounds all right to me.
Doesn't seem natural somehow. Me up on a soapbox preaching away. Nah, I suppose all right. Ralph will always help you. He's an old mate of mine. Never be shy to ask him. So will any other Air Force pilot who knew me. That's true, too. You'll find Air Force friendships mean something, and they're not easily broken. Get your air license and go ahead. You can do great things. It's in you, and it's up to you to do something to make Mother and Dad proud of you. By doing that, you'll be helping me as well. Bit of lump in the throat stuff there. Can't be helped. Last bit. Cheerio, Mick. and very many happy landings. Don't you bloody well let me down, or I'll haunt you, and I've a feeling I can be a most unpleasant ghost. Ever yours, Nen.
I don't know.
What do you mean, the last bit? About the ghost?
Doesn't seem quite right, saying something like that. I mean, in your place. I don't know.
Not superstitious, are you?
Oh, man.
Thank you so much, old chap.
Everything all right, Heath?
Yes. Ready and able.
The governor asked, you know, if there was anything you wanted. Anything in particular.
Oh, jolly good. Last request, eh? Tell you what I would like. There wouldn't have to be a snort of whiskey available, would there? That'd be super.
Collins, the governor's office in the cupboard. Make it smartish.
Right. Oh, and, we might make it a double.